Well, we're going to get started. We're hoping
Our
for a bigger
infrastructure
crowd
already
tonight,
exists.
but
The popular mindset already exists to support that.
Real show to start till 5:30, so
Well, that makes sense.
a few more show up. I want to apologize for having my teleprompter with me tonight. I promise for all my own words. I just need to use it to keep my thoughts in proper order. After expecting a bigger crowd tonight and expecting a little bit of a buzz on WSPD, which never happened, I did quite a bit of emotional roller coasting this last week. At times I've been asking myself, what the heck have you got yourself into, Harry?
You asked for it.
I did ask for it. I begged for it for a while. As the week went on, it became apparent that our moderator had no intentions of showing up from the very second he agreed to be here. As Friday progressed towards the end of his show, my suspicions were reinforced by there not even being a mention of today's event. I'd really hoped that a Toledo buzz would have brought in at least a few liberals into the shopping block. That didn't happen. Well, we'll see even so far that I know of. I found it difficult to drag myself into work yesterday because of the time that Scott and I gave to make this event take place and the conversations we've had in the past, and we both have so much to say, and maybe now it's just going to be another zero. The necessity of paying bills kicked in, and into work I went. As I was driving, I realized that I had to show up because all the friends that Scott and I had invited, and that would be rude not to show up and at least not talk a minute or two. Sadly, I continued on, and suddenly, while I was driving, my brain texted me. I said, wait a minute, that's illegal, but you know what, I read it anyways, and what it said was, hey, stupid, there's still YouTube. You know, why not show these buffoons what they missed? So how about it, Scott, John? Let's rock the world's liberty-retaining walls tonight. Let's make a great noise with our voices, and let's let the whole world know about it.
Yeah, let's go.
And I don't know enough about Randy to introduce him, so I'm just going to hand him the mic. If he wants to introduce himself, he can go for it.
There's Randy.
Cat just broke in. Anyways.
Oh, he turned his mic on.
So I turn the mic on, or I can use my mouth. That don't matter to me. Is this any better? Oh Lord, Randy has a mic. Katie barred the door. As y'all know, my name's Randy Moore. Usually on WSPD, Randy from the North End, God willing, soon to be from Louisville. Central Committee Chairman for Lucas County Libertarian Party, and I'm also temporarily the Executive Vice Chair. So I've established my party bona fides. Here we go. War on terror is being used to screw with your rights, liberties, and freedoms. Whether it's the whole list of amendments that are being used as toilet paper in the guise of national security, which has been a joke since the beginning. By the way, I think you guys were wondering about the weapons of mass destruction that were supposedly in Iraq. I think they were pressure cookers. Which now I'm waiting for the 7-day waiting period, and you have to register all your pressure cookers, and I'm going to tell them, like I tell all my guns, kiss my. Ain't going to happen. Because if you want to know what I'm doing, here's what you got to do. Show probable cause, get a warrant, and let's let the legal process work. But what we have nowadays is by fiat, by either Congress or our so-called president, which I doubt, is they say, okay, you're a terrorist. We deem you guilty. We're going to either confine you, waterboard you, which is torture, listen to your conversations without any legal repercussions, and if by some chance somebody spills the beans of what we're doing, we're going to hound them, imprison them, possibly suicide them, and or we'll just hang them. And how will you all know? Because all the whistleblowers have been gone. Your rights to search and seizures, gone. Your rights to non-incrimination, gone. And he said, oh, we can use the 10th Amendment, which to block and stuff. I hate to tell you this, that kind of got shot in the head a long time ago. It's coming back now. What people need to do is this. Get up off your butt, turn off the boob tube, get involved and get informed. Start with the founding documents, work your way from there. And when people say, oh, this is just for temporary sake, no. This needs to be stopped now. We can do this now. I don't trust Republicans. I don't trust the Democrats. I trust the people. The people can do it, but you have to be awake and enthused to do something. I don't care if you're scared, because guess what? You ain't alone. We can turn this ship around. But the only way to do this is to stop being scared of everything that's being said on the TV. Don't crawl in a hole. Get up, stand up, and say something. And I'm trying to watch the time so I don't get cut off. It's not hard. Yes, there's a war on terror, just like there's a war on drugs, a war on alcohol, a war on this, a war on that, which is, as the great Carlo would say, it's a bunch of crap, because we can't do anything. Why? We aren't supposed to. It's the government's job to keep you safe from terrorists. Well, guess what, people? Government can't do squat. The only thing they can do is spend our money, kill our people, and send the troops to places they have no business being. Not even under a, what was it, Congress has the power to declare war? When the hell has that happened? What happens? Our rights or freedoms, because we can't waste a good crisis, they go away. You go across the border, you gotta have your papers. You go here, you pay cash for things, you're a possible terrorist. You grow your own food. Oh, you're a prepper. Oh, you're dangerous. You know, screw you. Pardon my French, but you know what? If that's what makes you a list on the government, guess what? We're all there. Because if I cannot pay cash, I'm growing my own food. I'm doing everything I can to do to be self-sufficient. Wonderful venue, by the way, Scott. Thank you very much. Little on the warm side, but hey, at least I'm not in Guantanamo just yet.
Just yet.
Just yet.
The optimist.
But, you know, it's real simple, people. I know there's times you just want to crawl in a hole, watch the NBA, and just say, screw it. Those are the days where you need to go. One of my favorites, watch Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Simple guy, gets thrust into position because he helps lead the Boy Scouts. Finds out what's going on and says, you know what? To quote Popeye, I'm taking all I can take, I can't stand no more. You have to start. Get yourself elected to city council, or actually easier, county commissioner, executive committee, your central committees of your party, preferably libertarian, you know, and work your way up there. Avalanche starts with a single snowflake. That's all it takes. And you just keep rolling. You keep going. We can change the ballot access laws without having multiple lawsuits, i.e. Republicans, and Democrats. But everything is based on freedom and liberty, which has been massively defecated upon since, I don't know, Coolidge left the office. If you doubt what I'm saying, look it up. Look at H.L. Mencken, Hayek, Ayn Rand. Hell, George Orwell wrote a book called 1984. It was not an instruction manual. But people, it can be changed. As a gentleman remembered me, only like, what, 5 or 10% were into the revolution that started this whole shebang? It can be done by a small group. You have to be a burning example to light brush fires into the minds of people. It doesn't take a big group. It takes people willing to give people the hot pepper enema every now and then. I know I'm probably rambling because I'm not very good at unprepared speech. I don't have a teleprompter. I don't have little mics in my ears. I'm just going by what's running through my head.
You want to answer a question?
Good. Go
Okay.
ahead.
How do we find out about the documents? I mean, our culture right now could care less about it. How do we get that into the kids who are in 5th, 6th grade?
Spoon feed them. Get them started with, like I said, Mr. Smith goes to Washington, and ask them questions during that, because that one you can show to 5th and 6th graders.
Now, wait a minute. They're going to be bored out of their mind watching that movie.
Maybe, maybe not. You'll find out.
Okay.
With the scouts, you can introduce them that way. Say, hey, this is how kids are react. You watch the kids actually do something with the newspapers. You'd be surprised. The kids will ask questions if they're not already been turned into perfectly good little lemmings like the public school system was designed to be set up for. You can, but you have to start small. Get it when they're young, because when they get older, they get stuck in their ways. I like Mr. Beckboy. But it can be done. Or you could do what the cartoons, the old ones, you know, anything to spark their imagination, and then go from there. But if you start when they're older, it's a little more difficult. You know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Lady Gaga take over and forget it. Any more questions? I got a lot of time, and I don't think you want to hear me ramble.
How much time you got left?
Oh, God, 7 minutes.
Oh, okay.
What?
Maybe 5.
Okay, we'll go with 5.
Okay.
Okay, so you're talking about that. I mean, how do we, you know, there's a lot of kids, especially in college, that are really supportive of Ron Paul, libertarian ideas, freedom. How do we attack that? How do we harness that?
Well, with the Ron Paul / the libertarians, I think the real reason that Romney got it in the shorts, with them, well, this one for college age, you could either show Atlas Shrugged, or one of my favorites is Braveheart, where somebody is willing to stand up for the system, stand up against the system, and say, "Hey, this is wrong. We got to change it." And yes, and sometimes it's going to take what happened to William Wallace. Somebody's going to go on the cross. It sucks for those who get nailed, but it will happen. We can change the system. I like Braveheart, so that's why I use that example. Or you can use Michael Collins, another one about changing the system. Not very politically correct, but then I don't much give a damn about political correctness. To quote John Wayne, political correctness is tyranny with manners. I don't take too well with tyranny. As somebody once said, the tree of liberty must be replenished time to time with the blood of tyrants and patriots. Thank you very much. Have a good day. That was horrible.
Okay. Thank you, Randy.
You're on a roll.
You were passionate as always. I want to thank you for that. Next up, we're going to have someone I don't think needs any introduction to most of us, John McAvoy. Come talk about workplace freedom and whatever else he wants to talk about. Want to use this mic or
Let me use that mic. That way I can wander.
wander?
Meander,
Use this mic,
meander.
I can wander. How you guys doing?
Fired up.
I want to thank everyone for coming here. I got to stay in one spot because the camera guy says if you move around too much, it creates problems for him. So I got to stay in one spot. I want to talk real briefly about workplace freedom. Does everybody know what workplace freedom is? I hear a little bit of applause, a little bit of I'm not real sure. Does anybody know what forced unionism is?
Hell yes.
Yes.
We're here today to talk a little bit about freedom. One of the things we'd like to do, or we're actually working on here in the state of Ohio, because it's not going to happen via the legislative process. If Ohio is going to become a right-to-work state, if Ohio is going to become a workplace freedom state, if Ohio is going to do away with forced unionism, it's going to happen by us. We are the ones who have to do it. It is not going to happen in the legislature. It's not going to happen in the governor's office. It ain't going to happen in Columbus. It's going to happen pretty much the same way we did with the Healthcare Freedom Amendment. Usually when I talk about workplace freedom and forced unionism, I usually get asked a couple questions. So let me hit you what these questions are, what it's going to impact on the state of Ohio, the state of Ohio's economy. Ohio's economy is in the trenches. Right now we're rated about number 49 out of 51. And no, we didn't get 51 states. You know, we don't have 46 or 56 states. What we have is we have 41 states that we rank, or 51 states that we rank, and one of those states is Washington, D.C. So that's why we come up with 51, just to make sure everyone has their correct geography. Ohio is rated number 49 in that ranking, and right behind Michigan. Michigan is kind of moving up real quickly. They just passed right-to-work legislation in Michigan here about 3 months ago. Ohio's economy is in the trenches. I don't know if you follow Wall Street Journal. They have 6 states they call death spiral states. Ohio is one of those death spiral states. And one of the ways to resolve that is, again, right to work or workplace freedom. Ohio's economy is, over the last, from 2000 to 2012, the gross domestic product in the state of Ohio has risen an amazing minus 0.7%. In other words, our economy has shrunk in the last 12 years. I think the highest one, if I remember the numbers, numbers on radio are like numbers in front of a microphone. But the highest one, I believe, was
Tennessee?
North Dakota, okay. I believe, was number 1. And their economy grew an astonishing 47% in that same time period. Now, of course, they're a right-to-work state, but they also have a lot of energy up in that state. Something that we actually have a lot of energy here. When I say energy, I'm talking about fuel, or gas, oil, coal. But we're not really taking advantage of those energy sources. But Ohio is actually would be very, very key if we would take advantage of those sources and we take advantage of the right to work. Those who have been following the news in the last 2 weeks, Boeing Aircraft Company announced a $1 billion job where they're going to move, or they're actually not moving, they're building a brand spanking new Boeing 787 assembly plant in South Carolina. When we talked to their production manager, the number one reason they're moving to South Carolina and setting up this plant in South Carolina is a right-to-work state. And if I remember the quote from the plant manager from Boeing, he says, unions hamper our business. So what we chose is we chose a place where we didn't have to deal with them, and we can move on, and our assembly line can move on. And wouldn't it be wonderful to have a Boeing 787 assembly plant employing, 2,500 workers out at Toledo Express Airport? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And ain't never going to happen as long as we're a forced union state. One of the numbers when I talk before legislature, I says the number one number that we need to be concerned about, and it came from the U.S. Census Bureau, and that number is age groups 25 to 34. Age groups 25 to 34, what is the significance of those age groups? Those are the people that are just starting out in their lives, or just starting out on their careers. They're usually setting up their households. They got kids in school, so every dollar that this age group brings in, that dollar trickles out into the economy in a vast number of ways. The housing, the plumbing, the new roof on the house, the new remodeling on the kitchens, the kids' school supplies, schools in general. The age 24 to 35 is the indicator that you want to see for how your economy is going. And this was a key indicator on the spiral states. In Ohio, that age group is declining. They're going away. They're leaving. They're leaving Ohio and heading for places like Indiana. They're heading for places like Michigan. They're heading for places like North and South Dakota, where they can get a job, a good paying job. And quite often, when they get to these places, they do indeed join a union. You don't need to have a union just to make a good wage. It can help, but sometimes it hinders. Anyway, if we're going to make this happen, we got to do it. We're going to do it via the referendum process, or the citizens initiative process. So what I need, I'm the state coordinator for the Workplace Freedom Amendment. What we're doing is we're going around, we're circulating petitions to gather signatures, and we're going to get about 600,000 signatures. And we're going to place this on the ballot, and we're going to let the people vote on it. Do you want Ohio to become a right-to-work state, or do you want to continue to be a forced union state? When we Well, we did some polling data on this last year, right after Senate Bill 5. Everybody kind of remembers what Senate Bill 5 was. What we discovered in our polling